and we're gonna get straight into the first instrument that can play notes, and that will be the accordion, of course. So the accordion is actually two instruments as I see it. You have a bass side and you have a melody side. Everyone sees it like that, but I used the bass side, and during the years I just stopped using the melody side, mostly because I can play the bass side with my left hand, and if I play the Casio keyboard or the Glockenspiel instead of this, it's just gonna be more of a one-man band with two different instruments at the same time. But of course I love the sound of the melody accordion, so I will probably pick that up again one day. So if we're gonna focus on the bass side, it looks like lots of different buttons, but it's actually a pretty simple system when you get to know it. So I'm gonna do this just to show you what it's like, because this row is all you need to know, and then it's gonna be the same system for all the rows up here. So one of these buttons is a bass note. This is the E flat, but that doesn't really matter now. That's a bass note. Next to the bass note, you have a major chord. Because this is E flat bass note, this is gonna be a E flat major chord. And next to the major chord, you will have a minor chord, and it's still E flat. Major, minor, and the next one is a E flat 7 chord. All accordions are different, so all of them do not have all these. Most of them have more than this, but this is a small accordion. The last button is sort of an extra bass button, and this is a major third above the bass note. That's very theoretical, but anyway, this is an E flat, and you have a major third above. So in this case, it's gonna be a G note. And if you know these, like root note, bass button, major chord, minor chord, 7th chord, and the major third above the root note, then you will know the next row as well, because that is exactly the same, but now a 5th above. And that's a little bit theoretical as well, but it's just a distance between two notes, and we call it a 5th. So this is an E flat, so this will be a B flat. And you have the root note just above the root note E flat, and you have the major chord besides the root note again, and then you have the minor chord and the 7th chord, and this one is the major third above the B flat, which is a D. Now we can play the E flat, root note, and the major chord, and then we throw in the B flat root note bass note as well. The extra root note line here is probably because it's going to be easier to reach all the notes, so they are not spread out like in height, all of them. So you can go so from B flat, just use the extra bass note here to go to the E flat. All right. And the rest of the rows are just 5th up, 5th up, 5th, 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 5th. So on an accordion, the standard is that the C note is a bit different. It's gonna be, it points inward, so you can feel it, because you don't see these buttons. You feel them and you can feel the C button because it's a bit different, and there are a couple of other buttons that will be also feel different. They are made that so you can just feel where you are, and if you know that your C is here, you know that your G is going to be here because that's a fifth above, and so on. And it's just about practicing. When I started to play the accordion, first time I was going to record, I started to cry because it was so difficult. And then you just do it because it's so much fun to learn. When you learn things that you love to do, you learn so fast. So it's gonna go so fast, and in no time you will play these without a problem, even if you can't see them. And the best compliment I've ever had as a musician is probably everyone, all the people that said to me they started to play the accordion because of me. That's just so amazing. I have talked to lots of people that have said that, and I'm so happy about that. Accordion is such a cool instrument, and it's very difficult like the first few hours and the first few days, weeks, and then you just get over the threshold, and then it's all just fun. Just a quick tip, if you play the accordion, and it's usually you can choose from two different sounds, like a straight sound or a vibrato sort of sound. If you go on the straight sound and then you just push the vibrato button in a little bit, just a tiny bit, so it's going to be in between straight and the vibrato, then you get sort of a very, very, very light vibrato that I just love personally. So you just need to find the balance. That's the one. So I said I had the bell on top of the accordion. I had some cardboard, and I can't remember how it was made, but it was some cardboard, and then I think it was like one of these straps that normally goes in the accordion. It's missing on this one, but I put the strap through the cardboard or something like that, and it was just there. And you just need to find a way, I guess, if you want to do that. It's gonna be just gonna sit there, and you can go. The next instrument is going to be the Glockenspiel, and I guess a Glockenspiel does not need any explanation further, but just to mention, this is the one I have used during all the years. This is a very big, like a wide key Glockenspiel, and I recommend everyone that wants to play a Glockenspiel live, try to get one that has as wide keys as possible, because it's going to be very difficult to hit the right note if you have one of these really small Glockenspiels. If you record on Glockenspiel, I would say the opposite really, like the smaller ones have these perfect cute sounds, and this is a bit more like clunky in the sound. Another tip is that plastic mallets or beaters is not very nice, but if you play outside, if you're street performing, for example, plastic is very good because it's sharp and it just cuts through everything else. Indoors, I would go for wooden mallets, or even wooden mallets with some fabric wrapped around. That can be really sweet. So for recording, a smaller one with a wooden mallet, and for live usage, just very, very wide. This one is particularly wide. I found this in a drum shop in Sweden in 2011. I don't know what brand it is or anything, but it's just, I love it also because it has the black and white keys, and I prefer that over the all silver keys that many Glockenspiels have, but that's just a question of taste, really. This was a plastic beater that came with a small Glockenspiel that I had once, and the actual ball of the beater just broke. So what I have here is a plastic ring from a IKEA curtain bar. You know, the curtain bars that you buy, and then on the ends of the curtain bar they have like a little knob or something, and this is the cheapest curtain bar knob. So this is just a plastic, ugly plastic ring that they just give you, and no one, I hope, will use this on the curtain bar. But I found when the ball broke on this green mallet, I found that one of these would work pretty good like on the street, because this is super heavy, so it was really loud. You get lots of sound out from it, and it's still plastic, so you get that sort of sharp sound that you need to cut through the noise. But again, I wouldn't recommend anyone to record or anything with one of these. It's just too heavy. I had my Glockenspiel on top of one of these trolleys. So this is a trolley that I had with my band Detektivbyrån in 2005. We went on a little camping tour in Sweden when we slept outside in tents and we played on the street. Every one of us had one of these, and we just stacked all our gear on top of this, and tents and everything. And this is the same one I have used during all the one-man band years as well. If you're doing street performances, it's good to use like stuff that you use for transport. If you can use that in your act as well, like this one, I thought this could be really good for a Glockenspiel stand. I just need something to mount the Glockenspiel onto the trolley. So I just thought, if I can get a bolt on this handle, I can actually screw the Glockenspiel with the nut onto the bolt, and I'm all good. And it's funny because I was in this small Swedish radio documentary just when I had started out as a one-man band, and I lived out in nowhere, and I knew they had this place on the other side of the railroad tracks where they do metal work. So I thought maybe I can get help to get the bolt onto the trolley from them. So I took the trolley, I took the Glockenspiel, and I went around, because you had to walk a long way to get around in a safe way onto the other side of the tracks. So I just walked in with my Glockenspiel and the trolley and the bolt and the nut, and I just asked them, do you think you can help me attach this bolt with some welding? And they were like, were you on the radio today? And this was out in nowhere in the countryside, and they hear on the radio as they are working, they're hearing about this weird one-man band, and 2 hours later someone comes in, do you think you can help me? And I was like, yes, that was me. And they were so kind, so they helped me with the bolts and just welding onto the trolley and the nuts onto the Glockenspiel. And it's funny because they were like 20 people working in there, but when one of them did this, everyone else just gathered around and was like, what's this? What's this? What's going on? And I was super happy, obviously, and that's just amazing how people want to help out. So that's the Glockenspiel on top of the trolley. Okay, so I have my Glockenspiel. I had my Glockenspiel.